Hello everyone, and welcome to my first JeremyCraft world tour. In this video, I'll be giving a tour of my single-player survival world, as well as giving some context for the builds and what plans I had in mind while playing in this world. So without further ado, let's get started. So the world actually begins here on Mine Atlas. I had the idea to build on a mushroom biome, but before I could build there, I had to find a suitable seed. And after about a combined 4 hours total, I was starting to get a little bit frustrated, and started typing in random numbers. One of the random numbers I tried to type in as a joke was 16, which produced the exact seed I was looking for. It was a mushroom biome that was surrounded by ocean, isolated, with a mesa, a jungle, and an ice spikes biome all close by. But there was one other catch with this world. The Minecraft 1.16 update hadn't come out yet, so I decided that in this world, I wouldn't go to the Nether until after the 1.16 update had come out. This is the island that I chose to be my spawn island, for the simple fact that it exists at 0, 0. Thought that would be an easy way for me to remember how to get back if I ever got lost. So I set my spawn in this world on day 1 and set off immediately to find the mushroom island. So the first thing I did when I got to the island was grab some dirt, set up a rudimentary tree farm, and build this. So this ship right here was my starter. I had this idea when I first started that I wanted my first base and my home to be a ship, so I built this. I used the area underneath the deck here for my first storage system, and the space in here for my bed, and just some basic chests for valuables. So the first thing you see when you come off the island is this little unloading area with the custom tree, and just some little details around, some chests, and some barrels that actually serve as workstations for the villagers. So this area actually kind of comes alive during the day when the villagers all go to work. Just off the unloading area, we've got this little T-junction here. I'm going to show you off to the left first here. This is leading to the farmer. You have this nice wheat field here, and off to the right is the llamas, evidence of my war crimes against the wandering trader. My original idea for this island was that the villagers would be allowed to walk around naturally without being locked into villager trading pens, which I thought just felt a little bit inhumane, a little bit cruel. Like this farmer here. They unfortunately did need to be locked away for their own safety. I had a couple of villagers die to trident-wielding drowned at night, so unfortunately just had to lock these guys away for their own safety. Just inside here, we've got their little porch area with their workstation, and just a cozy little interior, a bed, a fireplace, and a little desk here with a nice view of the ocean. Now, all of my trading villagers have actually been cured from zombie villagers, so their trades are pretty great. This one specifically has a 1 pumpkin for 1 emerald trade, which I use to get emeralds to trade with the other villagers who have tool and armor trades. And just around the back here, we've got a nice little pumpkin producing area. As you can see here, you just come and grab your pumpkins as you go. I can show you in the back just how this works. It's a very simple farm. The observers detect when the pumpkin stems change state, causing the pistons to fire and the pumpkins to be pushed into the water streams, which are a little bit hard to see with the shaders on, and then they get pulled up into this water stream, sent along into some hoppers, which feed into these chests. Now, taking it right at this T-junction, we've got the rest of the island. First off, we've got my storage system, sort of an open concept barn-looking building. All the chests are within my reach when I stand in the center, and these little top areas are just used for some bulk storage, things we just have a little bit too much of, and for the things I have way too much of, I've just repurposed my old storage system down here for all of this extra space. You'll see why I have so much netherrack later on when we head to the nether. Now, at this T-junction, if we head straight on, this leads us to the pathway, which heads to the market. Now, this market, just like the unloading zone, is full of barrels, which the villagers treat as workstations, just making this area kind of come alive in the day when the villagers all go to work. Off to the right here, we have the blacksmith's home. This is where I get all of my tools and armor. These guys have trades for 1 or 3 emeralds, usually not much more than that. You can get a full set of diamond armor and tools for about half a stack of pumpkins with this conversion. You can see they've just got their beds up here, and their workstations are just down here in this little forging area. If we go just a little bit past the market zone here, we've got this nice staircase with the retaining wall leading up to this little viewing platform. In this vineyard, which is still unfinished, as you can see, the fruit has only been added to the first set of vines here. Still a work in progress, but at the very top of this island, we've got our church. Interior's nice and small, just a little cozy. Just some nice rafters at the top and some stained glass just to add a little bit of color. And from the sky, this is how the whole building looks. One of the funny quirks about this island, it seems that the animals like to congregate at the tops of the 2 peaks here. There's one over there we'll visit in just a minute, and one right here where all of the chickens and sheep tend to sort of hang out naturally. They just kind of go to the top of the island, which is a little interesting. So I built them this little patch of grass just so they could replenish their wool, act as sort of a natural wool farm. One of the things I really like to avoid in Minecraft if I can is penning up the animals and locking them into one space. Sort of like the villagers, I don't like to have villagers locked into one by one trading cells. I like to let them roam around, and the same can be said of the animals. I like to let them roam around, do their own thing, you know? Now you might be a bit confused that I've just mentioned that this is grass, considering you've probably thought I've been walking on grass this whole time. This is actually not grass, this is mycelium. I'm using a texture pack at the moment that makes mycelium look like a kind of clover grass, and I'll just turn that off really quickly for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. And there's the default Minecraft mycelium. You can see this whole island has remained untouched besides this little patch of grass I've got here, and we'll just turn that back off. And now that we're back to this beautiful grass mycelium, just gonna head back to the bottom of the island here, back to where we started, and we're actually gonna take a right now. So just to the right here, continuing on, we've got the Wizard's Tower. This is where the cleric lives, and as you can see, as I mentioned, all of the animals like to congregate just at the top of this little hill here. Specifically the chickens. The sheep all love that mountain over there. Oh, what are you doing up there? Come on. Come on. Hey, there we go. Oh. Well, I guess he likes it up there. So this is the Wizard's Tower. This is where the cleric lives. He is one of the villagers that unfortunately I had to lock in for their own safety. He's got this nice little cozy hut here. Just a single bed and some basic necessities. Nice mustache. And he's actually got a bit of a collection going up here. I have to be very careful when I leave this place not to let him go down this trapdoor because I will never ever get him back up there. And back to this little junction here, heading up here, we've got the library. This is one of my favorite villager builds. Another place where unfortunately I had to lock some guys away. Got this nice cozy little library, a nice little sitting area here, some bookshelves, and my mending villager down here selling for 4 emeralds and a book. And then just up here we've got a sort of attic area and a little sleeping quarter for the last 2 villagers, the Unbreaking 3 villager and the Efficiency 5 villager. Just as we're leaving this library, I'll show you the inside of these houses. Almost all of the houses have pretty much an identical layout with small differences, but they all have a little dining area under here with a carpet and a little piston table, and just some beds up in the attic. I haven't finished the interiors of the buildings quite yet. We still got some work to do on those, but all of the interiors of these buildings look basically the same, so you're not really missing anything as I walk past these without going inside. Now, the build back here needs a little bit of context. As I mentioned, in this world 1.16 was yet to come out, and I didn't see a way of obtaining some of the basic nether-based materials that I needed for things like potion brewing or redstone contraptions, things like quartz and blaze rods. But I still wanted to build in this world. I wanted to wait until 1.16 had come out, so I built myself this structure, which I call the bank. Built into the wall here, sort of carved out of the stone of the mountain. Inside is just sort of a natural cave and a nice little waterfall here. And when you go just down here into the vault, you'll see we've got some chests here. As you can see, the diamonds are still here from when I purchased these earlier, before 1.16 had come out. I just needed some of these materials, so soul sand for bubble elevators, quartz for some redstone contraptions that I was building, those observers in the pumpkin farm, and blaze rods specifically for brewing stands, which I needed to cure the zombie villagers. Now, one of the great things I noticed about the villagers was that at the end of the day, they all sort of congregated around the bell in the center of town. Part of the villagers' AI has them gossiping and relaxing after a long day of work under the bell, and I realized that I could build a structure around it and just give them somewhere to hang out after work. So I built them this inn, which serves as their meeting place and hangout after work. We've got the inside of the inn here with the bell, some mugs, those are repurposed potted plants, and just a nice little sitting area up here, and an iron golem who's been trapped for about 6,000 years because he can't fit down the staircase. Not sure how he got here if I'm being honest. I think they might have spawned him in here, but I guess he keeps them safe, so. Now before I show you anything nether related, I think it's important that I show you all of the things that were built before we headed into the nether, which means heading off in this direction in search of our end portal. And I've got a couple of these little fishing huts dotted around the island on just some of the little ice shelves here. Just think these add a little bit of color, a little bit of fun atmosphere. Just got some logs here and a little drill going into the ice, and just a little cozy hut for hanging out. And before we head off, I'm just gonna wait for it to get a little bit darker. one of the very interesting things about this seed that becomes a little bit more apparent at night, if I head perfectly straight north from my house, you'll see just below us is a guardian temple, which I'm going to skip over before I get murdered. And if we just keep flying this way, we arrive at a second guardian temple on an almost exactly straight line between my home and the other guardian temple. So we've got my home and then 2 guardian temples in a row, and then if you keep going straight, you arrive here at a stronghold, which is almost exactly north of my home. You can even swim into the stronghold here. It's completely exposed to the ocean, which I think is really cool. This little cave formation here is not natural. You can see a little bit of obsidian there. This is actually the housing for my end portal room, which I'll show you in just a second. So we'll just swim in here, this little one wide gap, and this is my end portal room. Just behind us is the nether portal that links my home to here. We took the long route just because I wanted to show everything that we did before we went into the nether, and this nether portal here is actually pretty recent. Used to fly here with my elytra over the ocean instead of taking the nether, just to avoid loading any biomes in the nether before the 1.16 update. So we're gonna hop in here. Just in that direction is one of my projects that's just a little bit unfinished. We're gonna head there in a second, but first I'm gonna show you the Ender, which is just a little bit in this direction. You can see it coming into view there. Now, if you know anything about the Enders, you'll know that these things are absolutely ridiculously strong. I've turned down my mob sounds and particle effects just to make this a little bit more enjoyable to watch. This is where I get all of my levels for enchanting, specifically for adding books to tools since I already have the librarians. And I've got this ender chest here just to make it a little bit easier to bring books back and forth, and materials in case I break an anvil or something. Now, for those of you who don't know how these work, I'm just going to show you really quickly. All you need is a nice big platform for the enderman to spawn, and in the center you have an endermite held in a minecart, renamed so that it doesn't despawn. The endermen are attracted to the endermite and they fall down the chute, down to the bottom here where they are now a one-hit kill. As soon as they die, new ones spawn up above, infinite levels. Heading back, you can actually see the remnants of the old Ender. I originally built the first Ender much too close to the island. I had to destroy the whole thing, rebuild it 150 or 200 blocks that way, which took absolutely forever and was a huge mistake, but ended up being really worth it. Now, coming up here, you'll see a gate. This gate actually leads to the inside of my end village. You can see there's a wall that goes around the entire village, connecting all of the obsidian platforms. And just in the center here, we've got the Shrine to the Dragon Egg, this little well here with the water of the well being the end portal home. Just around the well here, we've got a couple little houses. And one of the interesting things, I was actually able to get some of the villagers in here, not in there. We got a little baby there. And in this one, yep, there they are. One of the things that a lot of people don't know about villagers is that despite the fact that there's no sun and no skylight, the villagers in the end will actually follow the schedule of the villagers in the overworld. So we can tell it's nighttime in the overworld just because those guys are sleeping in there. And of course, villagers can sleep in the end. They can use the beds without them exploding. None of the interiors here are actually finished. All of these are one-story buildings with no furniture. That'll be changing at some point. I haven't quite finished this project. And it actually isn't just the inside of here that's covered in grass. I've covered the entire end island over here in grass. Now, this was a massive project. This took absolutely forever. Thankfully, this end island was actually pretty small. Now, heading back here, we've always got to make sure we close this gate so the villagers don't fall in. Now, popping back here, and it's raining. Let's see if we can fix that. Now, you may have noticed an absence of farms, at least above ground. I don't like the way that farms look. I find that aesthetically they're very hard to hide in plain sight. So I tend to build my farms underground, hidden away, like these ones down here. This was my old sugarcane farm, just a manual farm. I've got an automatic farm down underground that I'll show you in just a second. And over here is my cactus farm. A little hard to see, but there are water streams down here pushing all the cactus into this chest over here. And my only other farm on this island is just over here. And this one requires just a little bit of context. So for those of you who don't know, mushroom islands don't spawn hostile mobs. It's one of the reasons why I built my village here. I wanted the villagers to be able to walk around, and the fact that hostile mobs couldn't spawn meant that it was just a little bit safer for the villagers. But I did notice while I was clearing out some of the original mushrooms that this section right here had green grass, which meant that this was not part of the mushroom field shore. Just over there on the left, you can see that this is actually a cold ocean biome. And this cold ocean actually sort of extends just a little bit in sort of a circle in this little pond here. And this was great because this means that this area right here and the ocean over there are basically the only places where hostile mobs will spawn, which meant that this was the perfect place for a creeper farm. So hopping in spectator mode, you can see just under the ground here, I've built a 3-layer creeper farm. Each layer is 2 blocks tall with a trapdoor at the top to make it just slightly shorter than 2 blocks, so that way only creepers and spiders can spawn, as skeletons and zombies are a little bit taller than creepers. And the carpets down here are 2 block spiders from spawning. And these cats here make it so that any creeper that spawns immediately runs off the edge down into this chute here, where he moves along and falls to his death. Over here we've got this trapdoor and a bubble column. If you fall down here, this leads you to my underground farming area. The creepers fall down onto a hopper, and the hopper chain brings it along, and all the gunpowder gets stored here. Now obviously this is more than I'll ever need in a single player world, but just over here we've got an automatic sugarcane farm. This isn't super efficient, but again it's more than enough for supplying the firework rocket needs of one person. Now that we've shown you all of the... Oh no! Oh dude. One of the downsides of all the sheep congregating at the top of the mountains is that they're not very smart. And now that we've shown you everything on the island, it's finally time to head into the Nether. Now everything I've shown you up to this point was built before I went into the Nether even once. So the Nether is actually a fairly recent area for me in terms of projects. So there's not a whole lot to show you besides the main project, which was my Nether hub. And here is my Nether hub. Now this Nether was inspired obviously by the 2 main additions in the 1.16 update, the Crimson Forest and the Warped Forest. I had this idea where I wanted to build a Nether hub where there was Warped Forest on one side and Crimson Forest on the other, and in the middle they sort of blended together. So my tunnel heading in this direction you can see is a mix of the Crimson and the Warped Forests, and everything in this room is Crimson on one side and Warped on the other. For the ceiling I mined all the way up into the bedrock, and then I built a wall all the way around the outside, sort of a natural cave looking wall. Now before I show you one of my projects, just over there you can see that there's a hole in the Nether ceiling leading to one of my projects up there. Before I show you that, I'm just going to show you where this tunnel leads. And when you get to the end, takes you right here to the end portal, which I showed you just a little bit earlier. Just wanted to show you that so you guys can get an idea of where everything sort of fits in. And now for the last project that I built in the Nether. Hidden away just above the Nether ceiling, you can see that there's a twisting vine here that leads you right up through a hole in the bedrock. I used a trick by Impulse SV to break a hole in the Nether ceiling, and just up here is my piglin bartering system. So this works on a clock, a very simple design. This clock fires every so often, and if you want to activate the piglin bartering, you just fill the dispensers with gold ingots. And every so often it drops an ingot at their feet. They pick it up, figure out what they want to trade with you, drop it on the floor, and it gets picked up into these chests right here. And to get the gold to fill the dispensers, we use this, which is my gold farm. Just up here we've got some spawning platforms for the zombified piglins, and a layer of glass at the top here just to stop gas from spawning. Right up here is the AFK platform, and the way that this farm works is that the trapdoors in here contain turtle eggs, which the zombified piglins want to try and stomp on. They walk towards the center, fall through the center hole, all the way down to the bottom, down onto these hoppers down here. The drops get picked up into these chests, and as you can see I don't have a lot in here because I've been using it to barter with the piglins. And now the tour is mostly done, there's just one last little thing to show. Heading in the opposite direction of that tunnel over there, we are going to take a quick fly over here to this portal here, which takes us back to spawn. Now this is technically not the actual spawn island. The real spawn island that I started this video on is just over there, but just a little bit off there I've built this structure right here, which is actually my iron farm. There are 3 villagers in here who all have beds. Workstations are no longer required in 1.16, so I've removed those. And then this zombie here just gets pushed up and down constantly, scaring the villagers, causing them to spawn iron golems. They get pushed along into the lava, they die, and their drops are pulled down here. As you can see, I was AFKing just a little bit, but that's the end of the tour. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully there will be a part 2 when just a little bit more progress has been made in the world. This is an ongoing survival world, so if you want to see another episode, please let me know in the comments. Once again, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.